Welcome to The Explainer. We're jumping right in today because we've got a really fascinating journey ahead of us. We're going to take this massive, big picture phenomenon, the absolute explosion of the mining sector up in Northern Ontario, and zoom all the way down into the micro-level financial strategies you actually need to capitalize on it. We're talking about the massive, multi-ton heavy machinery required to literally move the earth, and, more importantly, how an operation actually affords it. Here's our quick roadmap for today. We're covering Section 1, the Timmins mining advantage, Section 2, critical minerals and growth, Section 3, supply chain and infrastructure, Section 4, acquiring heavy machinery, and Section 5, leasing versus purchasing. All right, starting right off with Section 1, the Timmins mining advantage, a geographic powerhouse. To really understand this boom, we have to look at the geology. Timmins is parked right at the heart of the Abitibi Greenstone Belt. It's this massive, ancient geological feature packed with some of the world's largest deposits of gold, silver, copper, and zinc. But the real advantage? It goes way beyond just the rocks. This region has over a century of mining heritage, incredibly competitive corporate tax rates, and a really highly skilled bilingual workforce. It's a business environment that's basically been fine-tuned for mining over decades. And the sheer density here is just staggering. Between Timmins, Sudbury, and Western Quebec, which is all within roughly a 4-hour drive of each other, there are 52 operating mines and advanced development projects. 52. That's a massive, densely interconnected economy that absolutely demands world-class infrastructure to keep it breathing. Just to put the human scale of this into perspective for a second, Ontario's mineral cluster currently employs roughly 150,000 people. I mean, think about that. That's essentially an entire mid-sized city's worth of highly skilled workers entirely dedicated to extraction and innovation, backed by a government that's heavily investing in modernization. Moving right along to Section 2, critical minerals and growth, powering the future. So make no mistake, gold is still a massive economic engine here. Timmins is actually the largest producer of gold in Ontario, and prices are holding remarkably high. But the real explosive opportunity right now, that's tied directly to the green energy revolution. We're talking about critical minerals and rare earth elements, specifically nickel and cobalt, which are absolutely essential for making electric vehicle batteries. In today's tech-driven world, these minerals are literally the new gold. Because of this massive shift, exploration is just accelerating at a breakneck pace. Since 2019, there's been a 35% spike in active claims just in the Porcupine Camp alone. It's a modern-day resource rush, pure and simple. Companies are flocking in, dropping hundreds of millions of dollars because they know the resources buried in Timmins are exactly what global manufacturing desperately needs right now. Which brings us to Section 3, supply chain and infrastructure, building the support system. Think about the pure logistics of this for a second. You simply cannot run 52 heavy industrial mines without 24/7 world-class support. That's why operators across the whole supply chain, from technical GIS mapping to diamond drilling to heavy metal fabrication, are putting down permanent roots here. And they're being backed by some serious tech, including a 2,200-kilometer fiber optic backbone and a dedicated hydroelectric grid built specifically to keep these machines moving. A really great on-the-ground example of this is SMS Equipment. They are a Canadian heavy equipment dealer, and they just unveiled a $30 million expansion right in Timmins. We're talking about a state-of-the-art 37,000 square foot facility designed to house the absolute largest mining equipment on the planet. They've got massive welding bays and a 100-ton heavy lift capacity. That is literally enough lifting power to hoist a space shuttle. So now they can handle full remanufacturing and large equipment rebuilds totally in-house. The CEO of SMS Equipment really nailed it when talking about this expansion. He basically said you have to invest heavily right where the action is. And he's right. You just cannot afford to service a multi-million-dollar haul truck from 3 provinces away. The downtime alone would bankrupt a project. In this industry, support has to be hyper-local, specialized, and ready to go instantly. All right, Section 4, acquiring heavy machinery, the operational reality. So let's say you're a contractor or mine operator, and you want a piece of this boom. You need the big gear, but you're immediately hit with a really critical choice. On one side, you've got the physical reality of the machinery, the steel, the hydraulics, the power. But on the other side, you've got the daunting financial reality of how you actually pay for it without completely draining your operating budget. And that brings us perfectly to equipment leasing. Now, it might surprise you, but nearly 80% of all companies use leasing in their day-to-day operations. It allows a business to basically pay for the use of machinery through a structured program. You get all the operational power of the equipment, but you don't have to tie up millions in upfront capital. Capital that, frankly, you probably need for payroll or further exploration or just managing unexpected delays. And finally, Section 5, Leasing versus Purchasing, Strategic Financial Decisions. Choosing between leasing and purchasing really comes down to looking closely at your balance sheet and your long-term goals. It's kind of funny, actually. The advantages of leasing almost perfectly mirror the disadvantages of purchasing. When you buy, sure, you own a fixed asset, you have full control, and you write it off over time through depreciation. But with a lease, you're trading that equity for incredible agility. Those lease payments are often treated as an immediate expense, giving you a full tax benefit right off the bat. Plus, at the end of the term, you aren't stuck with old tech. You just hand it back and upgrade. But, there's no magic bullet here. You have to watch out for the pitfalls. If your project timeline stretches out, the cumulative cost of a long-term lease can absolutely exceed the original purchase price. On the flip side, if you purchase, the total burden of maintenance is entirely on your shoulders. And let me tell you, in an environment as punishing as Northern Ontario, you really don't want to find yourself trying to offload an obsolete, battered machine 5 years from now when the whole industry has moved on. So ultimately, it forces you to ask a foundational question. What does your specific operation actually need to survive in a hyper-competitive market like Timmins? Are you running a fast 3-year exploration project where agility is literally everything? Or are you digging in for a 20-year deep shaft extraction where owning fixed assets just makes way more sense on paper? Before you ever shake hands with the dealer, you really need to run your strategy through this checklist. Exactly how long do I need this specific machine? What's my true operating budget? How much flexibility do these finance terms actually give me? Does the business need an immediate tax deduction or long-term depreciation? Because aligning these answers with your actual business projections, that is exactly what separates the operations that thrive from the ones that just stall out. To wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a provocative thought to chew on. The earth in Northern Ontario is undeniably rich. The supply chain is scaling up massively. And the global demand for critical minerals? It is only going to skyrocket. The opportunity is absolutely there. But as this mining boom accelerates, is your capital strategy, is your equipment strategy truly agile enough to keep digging? Definitely something to think about as you plan your next move. Thank you so much for joining me, and keep learning.